You know what it is, the Front Left podcast, Front Left of All Conversations. You got myself, Tez, and I'm joined with
Trick or Treat,
Josh, LFTS, and today we have a big guest, Hoi, the Queen of Ghana. I just want to say Akwaba. Hey, Akwa. Come on.
I was waiting for that, yeah. Waiting for that. Thought you were going to do something silly.
I have to introduce you properly.
Thank you. It was best introduction.
So introduce yourself, the Queen of Ghana.
Nihad. Apparently the Queen of Ghana. Yeah, Nihad. Hi, I'm happy to be here. Thanks for having me, guys.
We're ecstatic.
You sound
Oh my gosh.
No, honestly, thank you. I'm grateful to be here and I'm excited about today. Thanks for having me, guys.
Of course. So, obviously, people don't know you are a
Therapist.
therapist,
Yes.
exactly.
Do you know what? I didn't know you was a therapist.
Really?
I thought you was a physiotherapist.
Everyone thought this, you know.
Yeah, like
Everyone thought
that's what
this.
I thought you was.
Yeah.
And then I thought you was doing, or we'll get to it, but I just thought you did physio, and then the whole therapist thing was a hobby.
What?
No, you get what I'm saying? Like,
Wait, what? So, you thought she was a physio as in
I genuinely thought she was a
physiotherapist?
physio, and then offering therapy was a way to be like, you know what? Yeah, I want to listen to people. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, okay, like I can speak and reach out and help people, because there's a lot of people like.
But don't you need like
What
licensing and stuff?
to listen to somebody?
Well, no. So if you just want to listen to someone and listen to their problems and give advice, anyone can do that. Not
So
literally
that's
anyone,
what I thought,
but
you know, because a lot of people bring these pages of like to speak up on stuff. Do you get what I'm saying? Like, or have like, especially with like, have you seen the ones with people who suffer PTSD? I follow ones on Insta.
Yeah.
And it's people who suffer it, or the guys who I'll share it afterwards. But the guys who started it, they only got qualifications afterwards.
Okay.
But they suffer from PTSD.
So from their experiences.
Yeah. So I thought, oh, that's how.
I see. Sort of speaking from personal experience, but then with passion in the interest almost. You think? Okay. So I'm doing it properly. It's the real deal. Yeah.
So outline to us, like, what do you do?
What do I do?
What is your... So I'm Nihad, I'm a therapist, but I do...
Yeah. No, of course. So I specialise in a model of therapy called cognitive behavioural therapy. Cognitive is just basically exactly it.
To the brain, the mind. One did a little tutu on town, you know.
I'm clued in.
I was like, cognitive is basically just like a posh word for thoughts, really, isn't it? So the sort of school of therapy, or the model of therapy that I specialise in, is based on helping people to sort of understand the way in which they think, the experiences that they have, and the impact it has on their thought patterns, and also consequently their behaviours as well. So within sort of CBT, you might hear about like this term called the cognitive triad. So the idea behind that is basically like, we've got our thoughts, we've got our feelings, and we've got our behaviours. Now it misses an element of like physiology, which I'll touch on in a moment. But the idea behind it all is just that it's not the situations that happen that cause us to feel a certain way. It's our interpretation of the situations that occur that make us then have an affect, like an emotion.
The reaction to what happened, like, precedes it, basically. So like a reaction way. So like if something happened, it's how I take it, basically.
It's how you interpret it, which then sort of, I suppose, leads to how impacts on how you feel, your emotion about it. Okay. So, simple example, I am walking down the road and then I see someone who I've not seen for ages, like an old friend or something like that I've not spoken to for a while. So that's a situation. Situation could then be, I say hi, or I wave at them and they don't see me, they just walk straight past. My interpretation of that could be, so the thought could be, oh my God, I've done something wrong, I've upset her. She doesn't like me anymore, she doesn't want to speak to me. That would then make me feel really sad or really anxious and worried. That would then lead me to maybe not speak to her again, or reach out too much and like make sure she's okay.
So basically basically a journey.
Exactly.
Okay.
So what do you mean a journey?
Like, it's like a journey of emotions, like, so one reaction has countermeasures, basically. So you said you've got that whole picture of like, oh, she blanked me. Yeah. Should I cut it off? I've done something.
Yes.
So then you just
that's the thought, isn't it? That's the interpretation. Exactly. Exactly. That's the meaning that you're making from it, which will then cause the feeling. So people often think that something happens in our lives and then we feel a certain way about it, and that usually isn't actually right. It's the thing happens, then we think a certain thing about it, we have an interpretation of it, we make a meaning of it, and then we feel something about it, which then contributes to how we behave, which then sort of goes around and round.
Is it always in that order? Because can't you have like an emotion or a feeling which then influences how you then think about it?
It's cyclical,
Okay,
so it all
so
impacts on each other. Yeah, Venn diagram. Exactly. Call it like a hot cross bun if you want to call it. Do you know what a hot cross bun is?
Yeah. Wait. What? It's puff puffs.
Again, give bread.
Give bread and all that. Forget the hot cross buns. So yeah, good point. It all impacts on each other. So then if I'm then avoiding her and I'm not contacting her, that might then make me think, oh no, she definitely doesn't like me now because I've not made an effort. Now it's too late for me to contact her. Again, that's all those thoughts. And then more feelings of worry and anxiety, and just goes on and on and on and on. So within CBT, sort of our job is to help people to understand that. Of course, it's a lot more in depth because people then experience traumas, don't they, which is then the situation. So our job is to sort of help them make sense of the experiences that they have, help them to understand the thoughts and the appraisals that they've had of that situation, and of course sort of move them to recognise how it's making them feel, how it's impacting on their behaviours, their physiology, and then recognise that sort of cycle that's happening. So in therapy, the intervention is to help them to challenge that and change those thoughts and behavioural patterns in order for them to feel better. Okay. If that makes sense. So are you with me on that?
Yeah. I've got you. Yeah. So what I was going to say is, so within the CBT, which is cognitive behavioural therapy, isn't it?
Yeah, that's the one.
But within that, is there like a borderline? Basically, what I'm trying to say, because I'm just waffling here, is there like a specific guideline that you would do through different, like the same people, or will it be different? So, for example, if I came in with the issue, would you have like a rule book of we're going to go through this, we're going to go through this, we're going to go through this?
Like a model almost.
Like a model? Or would you change it to the individual?
100% changes to the individual, yeah.
So, you alter it.
Exactly. So you've always got framework. So obviously within the training that we do, so I trained at the University of Birmingham. Within the training that you do, the whole point of the training is to give you the tools that you need to actually understand the presentation. So whether it's anxiety, depression, under the bracket of anxiety, OCD, PTSD, where you're understanding that, you're learning about how it develops for people and all of these other factors. But you're also learning about the framework, so how you would treat that presentation, what you would do in terms of the thoughts and the behaviours to sort of intervene and help the person. So you've got that framework behind you, but then people don't fit into frameworks. We're human beings, we're all very complex, and we come from lots of different experiences and cultures and everything else, so you cannot fit people into boxes. But you've got that framework and you've got that person, and the idea is to sort of work together to weave the two together almost, and to make the interventions work for them. Is it not, does that make sense? It's not make the person work for the intervention you're doing there.
It's when someone makes a plan, or you look at like a business from inside out, and you like just do a whole analysis and break it down, the structure from the core and taking everything. So you're doing that for a person, basically.
Exactly. But in a bit more of like a human way almost. I think CBT gets a bad rap. It gets quite a bad rap in the sort of psychology world, because a lot of other therapists or counsellors or whatever, I mean, this isn't everybody, but some people believe that it's too structured, that it's too prescriptive, because we've got such a sort of model to follow. They believe that it's too prescriptive to sort of fit people into these boxes. And some people are really, really sort of passionate about that prescriptive nature and really like stick to that structure. Some aren't. Some like to really take the person as they are, and again, like I said, make the model work for that person. But it gets a bad rap. But I think as long as you're always sort of taking a step back to recognise that you will never be able to fit anybody into a box, and that you shouldn't, and you should just take the person as they come and move through that journey with them as much as you can, and that's all that matters. And ultimately it's about being a good listener. It's about being someone who's human enough to sit in a room with somebody and really hear them out, and really like be on this journey with them and understand them and be compassionate to them. That is really the core of therapy, really, and all of the other stuff is just extra.
So then is it like, well, this is just a question.
Go on.
Are you sat there on a desk and the person's lying across a chair? Like
I feel like that's like that is like the projection of what you see on TV.
I
don't
really?
Yeah, when you see them and you lie on this.
So tell me about your
day. Like Freudian days, isn't it? Not at all. No, it's not like that at all.
Not like that.
Not at all. No, it's similar to this kind of setting. I mean, less.
I want to be a therapist.
Comfortable.
No.
Like no, it's less like It's definitely, it depends on where you go, really, doesn't it? But in most, I'd say generally most practices, you've just got couches, you've got a chair, and you've got obviously your desk in the corner where you're doing your notes and everything else. But once the person comes into the room, you're sat on the couch, you're in a chair with them, you're talking with them, you've got a table, you've got worksheets that you're working through, you've got whiteboards to draw things out with them, and it's really cool. It's what you make it, really, I think.
I suppose with like the kind of environment when, you know, a client or somebody steps into like a session, it's a sort of, I would imagine, you know, get them to like relax themselves, allow them to maybe, let's say, be open and stuff like that. Obviously during the training and stuff that you obviously went through, how was that process? How did you find it?
It was tough. It was quite challenging, to be honest with you. So I did a 3-year undergrad at John Moores in applied psychology.
Okay.
And then I was doing like lots of other like voluntary experiences, as you know, alongside that, like literally working in sort of like nursing homes, working in mental health hospitals, you know, doing that kind of stuff, and then eventually working as like a nursing assistant, whilst then training at the University of Birmingham, doing the 3-year program in CBT. And it was hard. It was really eye-opening. But it was definitely challenging because you're not only sort of learning this stuff, like I said, you're not only learning this framework, but you're then having to apply it as a new person. Do you know what I mean? You're applying it as a trainee. So you're going into these rooms, and of course with the training, you've got to actually see clients because you get recorded. You have to do assignments. You have to take your recordings to supervision. You're sitting there listening to yourself do this intervention with a person who's in a really sort of vulnerable situation with your. So it's super pressurizing, and it's hard because. So in my undergrad, in my training, I did a year in Liverpool University. They've got a student health section, which is also, you know, they also offer CBT therapy there. And I think the challenge of it was not really knowing what I was doing, but having to just not wing it, but wing it. Do you know what I mean? Like I knew it, but I knew that the only way for me to actually really know it is to practice it. Yeah. And it was hard sitting in front of this person, thinking in my head, like really, like what was lecture 2, right? Lecture 3. You know, it's this client right now. I need to do this. I need to do this model, and this. You're doing a lot of thinking. And again, like I said, you always have to come back always to that humanness. You know, just be in the room. Nihad, just sit with them, listen to what they're saying, because if you don't, then you completely miss the whole sort of point of everything, don't you? But it was definitely challenging. It was incredible, but yeah, not easy.
Not easy, yeah.
So this is one question. During like COVID, were you doing like video calls with clients, or like how was that?
Yeah, so at work, at the moment we're not back in clinic yet, because I'm based in sort of GP practices, and obviously with that being quite, you know, it's a situation where people can be quite vulnerable, and you know, it's not safe enough for people to go back into that space. But yeah, I work mainly GP practices, and we aren't offering any face-to-face sessions at all at the moment. We're offering video. So it's a video link which is NHS approved. We're not using like Zoom or anything. I don't think it's licensed by the NHS or whatever. So we're doing either video calls or telephone. All of my clients at the moment have opted for telephone. None of them are doing video for various reasons, which is cool. But yeah, so we're doing telephone at the moment, which is difficult. Again, really, really challenging. But it's something you just have to adapt to, don't you? And be open with the clients and just let them know that this isn't what therapy is usually like. You know, a lot of it is to do with sitting in that space with that person and holding that story with them. But you really just got to do your best. What else can you do?
So how much of it do you feel is like, obviously you go for your training, you have your modules, like you were saying before, I got to think what's lecture 2, etc.
Yeah.
How much is it like based on what you learn and how you want to interpret and apply that, and how much is it based on you being the individual who you might be someone who's normally naturally like really good at listening to people, or you might just be someone who's, you like in your friendship group, you might be someone who takes on other people's problems or issues. How much do you think has an impact? Because some people may be more naturally just gifted to listen to people and help people.
Sure.
Do you think that has an impact to like?
Yeah, definitely. I think more than anything, yeah. It's honestly such a rewarding job. It really is. It's incredibly rewarding. I mean, like seeing someone go from a place of distress to a place of, you know, striving and wanting to create meaning and to make those amazing changes, and being with them through that, it's unbelievable. But I think you've got to want to, and I think that comes from your personality and attitude of being someone who likes to listen to people. Because you think about it, 9 to 5, you know, most days you're sitting for at least 6 hours of the day listening to somebody and really trying to guide them through a really hard time. And I think if you've not got an interest or a passion in listening or in I suppose it's not about giving advice or in guiding people and helping them through that, it's going to be even more difficult for you. So I think for sure, if you've got the personality and that attitude and that passion for listening and sitting and holding that with people, then it feels easier.
So do you think
it definitely contributes?
Because you've been able to open and listen to everybody, new people's experience, etc., that has then made you think or maybe process things in a different way than you did beforehand? Definitely, yeah. I think one thing that I've reflected on quite a lot, I think during coronavirus, and obviously which has obviously influenced your guide as well, has been the idea that even though you learn all of this stuff, there's always so much more learning to do. Like, it doesn't stop at uni, it doesn't stop at, okay, I've finished now, qualified, I've got this experience now, I'm done now, I know everything. You know, like a guru of therapy, it does not work that way, never will. There's probably even more learning you've got to do after that. And I think a lot of that comes from your own self-reflection and your own sort of efforts to even just go on YouTube and just type in something that you're curious about, or something that you feel, you know, you don't quite understand or whatever. You've got to really go that extra mile to just carry on learning, because like I said, human beings are complex. Like, we are properly like wired in such phenomenal ways that we can't quite grasp yet. So there's no end in the learning. It goes on and on and on. And on. It's a continuous process.
Do you know with like when you have like your clients and your different sessions and stuff, do you have like, let's say like follow-ups with them also as well to see how they're getting on, like, and do you like have to plan that in advance, or like how does it work? Is it if they want that follow-up, or do you have to, is that part of the therapy?
So in some services, so I think for a lot of times, if you go to a private therapist, they'd probably be more likely to offer that. In my service particularly, what we do is we offer a certain amount of sessions based on the client's presentations and how much their difficulties are impacting on their ability to live. We'd gauge it based on that. And then before we finish our work together, we do something called like a therapy blueprint, which is where we spend like a good whole session, good like 50-60 minutes, really get an idea about, you know, what was the problem? What was the initial problem that sort of brought you here? What have you learned? What's been helpful to you? What's been unhelpful to you? How did you think before? How are you thinking now? If this situation was to occur, how would you respond to it differently? Like, if you're slipping, if you feel as though you're struggling, because, you know, slips happen, we all slip every single day. If slips were to happen, how would you deal with it then? You'd come up with a really good plan that you feel, and they feel importantly, that they're comfortable to like walk away and leave having this thing to continue sort of moving forward with. But no, we don't offer those follow-ups. We make sure that we've got like a good enough plan for them. Good enough, because obviously there's no perfect plan. A good enough plan for them to follow and go back to if ever they need to, but they can always refer themselves like after some time as well, just to get that top up if they need it.
So there's one question I wanted to ask.
Of course.
So so a lot of things that I've been looking at is like a lot of depression is one of these things as well, and what kind of plan would you give to someone? Like, if I came to you now, I'm saying like, oh, I'm really depressed because right now the current climate is so uncertain, and now I feel like, because suicide rates went up, innit? And like I'm having these thoughts. What is your plan to like tell this person? Because a lot of people don't actually see a way out now from this.
Of course.
So what would you say, or what advice, or how would you actually break down that mindset to try and now form a concept for them that there's something better?
Yeah. Okay. So I think first of all, it's a lot to do with sort of normalizing that worry, that uncertainty and that sort of depression. I think a big part of therapy is validating and normalizing that whatever experience you have as a human being, it's valid, it's normal, it's okay to have that. And I can't think of one person who wouldn't be able to relate to that situation. You know, it's extremely uncertain times now, and it's very, very scary. And I think in life we're very driven by fear a lot of the time, whether it's worry about the future or, you know, whatever it may be. So in that circumstance, I'd start by normalizing it for them. I'd also make sure that they've got support systems around them. So, you know, who is in your team, who's in your community, who's in your family, that can help you through this. Who can you communicate this with and share this difficulty with? Because it's hard, and we all need that person to really move us through that. Secondly,
She can't cancel.
Talk about uni, like, secondly. Thirdly, what I'd make sure I do is I highlight to them what they've stopped doing as a result of how they're thinking. So again, cognitive triad. So we've got these thoughts like, I want to give up, there's no point in me carrying on anymore. So if you think about the top of the triangle, that's the thought, isn't it? I want to give up. There's no point in me doing this anymore. I'm over this. There's no prospect for my future. Life is hopeless, whatever else it may be for them. Feelings, depressed, really low, sad, anxious, whatever else it may be. And then, of course, behaviours. So what often happens when people are depressed, one of the sort of fundamental things that we recognise is that they start to avoid. Now, avoidance can come into, lots of different forms. So it can be avoidance of the emotion, so that other part of the triangle. So I don't want to feel it anymore. I want to block it out. So then that's when people use like drugs and alcohol and weed and whatever else it may be. So they might avoid the feeling, or they might avoid going out. They might withdraw from the friends. They may withdraw from social media completely. They may just like stay in their room and just watch TV all day. They won't go to the shop anymore. They'll avoid speaking to their family. Avoidance is a massive part of that behavioural sort of that triad, if you want to call it. So I'd help them to establish and understand that, and then I would make efforts to encourage them to change that, so and that doesn't even mean by making dramatic changes. Literally just, okay, tomorrow, who's one person that you can call? We've noticed that you're avoiding this thing. Who's one person that you can call? Okay, so you've not been to the shop in 5 weeks, and I know that you're really struggling with that. Where could you go? Could you go to the corner shop? Maybe not town, but could you go to the corner shop and buy something? Could you then maybe call your friends on the way there, or invite them over for a cup of tea? Little things to just really, really gradually reactivate them into living a little bit more and reclaim their life in a really gradual and slow way. And then I suppose, ultimately, around all of that as well, there's 2 other things that I do, and I think one of them's a lot to do with sort of compassion, and that's a big thing in therapy, and it's about sort of being able to speak to yourself the way that you'd speak to a friend. So I'd say to that person, okay, so let's say you're sat in a room right now with Trey or with Teza, and they're saying to you that they're having these difficulties, they're really struggling to see a way out of this. What would you say to them? Really visualize that and tell me what you'd say to them. And then that is quite a powerful thing, because often
I was thinking,
I would say some deep stuff.
But yeah, it's powerful, because we're so able to give other people that compassion and care, aren't we? Like, instantly you felt that, didn't you? Instantly,
I really did.
I could see that in your face.
I actually wanted to be like, you can do this.
Exactly. Tearing up.
Emotional.
Book you in next week.
Book me in, man. Book me in for that rice. Like,
he's not letting it go. Not at all.
We can cry to the pot.
Wow. To the bottom.
Wiping his tears with plantain.
To be fair, I won't speak to you, man. I feel like it's, I think especially us, and not even just us, black people in general, don't have, we're not built, or we are built, but we're not told to talk. So us talking is like, you shouldn't talk. Like my mum said, if you haven't got any shit, just keep it in yourself, and it's one of them. Like, you're moving it. But for me personally, stuff don't hit me like that. So, but then I see people it hits. Like, you actually need to talk to someone. So I think I'm the better listener, but I'm not the better talker. If you get what I'm saying.
Why do you think that is?
I don't know, because I don't know. I keep it moving in it.
But
like,
sorry to cut you off, but I feel like what Josh is saying, jumping on that, is from like a male's perspective. I don't think the majority of males in their personality, it's something that they're comfortable with, expressing their emotions in that way to talk. So there may be other ways. For example, if I have an issue, I'm not going to talk to someone straight away. I'm going to think about it, then I'm going to think about it, then I'm going to think about it, and my head plays tennis, and it's just back and forth until then I think, actually, no, wait there, I need someone else.
Okay.
But with some other people, I think as well, it's personality traits, especially when it comes to like women who are more normally more open and more nurturing. It's easier for them to express it.
Sure.
And especially when you're in society as well, like someone like who's me, Josh, Trey, or whatever, comes to someone and tells them an issue, we might be looked at in a way like you just get on with it kind of thing. Whereas if it was somebody else, like, I'm not blaming society, but just how it is, it's easier for them to be like, oh no, actually, yeah, we can sit and discuss that. But I do think that is changing slowly.
Definitely.
But I feel like that is probably one of the stigmas that's out there, which is a bit more difficult. And I think even though we don't have that in the forefront of our minds, we probably it influences our behaviours.
Sure.
But
go on.
what you said, but don't you think it's like, I don't think I could tell my kid to start talking.
Really?
Yeah, I don't
Why
know.
is
I
that?
think there's something about talking. I think it's talking that, I don't know, like, for me, innit, when you see people talking about everything, I feel like it's not weakness, but you letting too many people know your shit. And then people, like, maybe it's a trust thing for me, but I don't like to disclose too much because I genuinely feel like someone will turn that around and use that against you. So then when you're going about talking, and everyone's got your shit, then they're using that against you. And then people use, like, social media or the things that they told people in confidence, and it just spreads. So I always thought about it, like, you know what, if I'm ever going to go through something, I'd rather just deep it out and just do what I need to do instead of me talking. And I think that's how, I don't know, not just me, I think a lot of people know how to settle it that way. But then I see a lot of people, especially now we live in a social media age, like, everyone takes to Twitter, and you're not going to lie, innit? For me, that's my entertainment. But I'll be like, I can never do that. Do you get what I'm saying? I could never be like, throw down everything down, or need to, if it's weird, but for some people it's therapy. But then in my mindset, it's bad for me to say it, but like, I genuinely feel like I'm just like, this is just, you can't be doing this. Like,
I feel like everyone's like kind of built differently anyway. Do you know what I mean? Similar to what Tezza was saying before, like, you know, playing like a game of tennis and stuff like that. I used to play like quite a lot of sports when I was a lot younger, so, you know, if I'm part of like a team, it's kind of like, you know, just get on with it, stuff like that. You know, your families can't, well, depending on what your family situation's like, they're always kind of like, you know, come chat to us if you need anything or whatever, but most of the time you just try and get on with it. Do you know what I mean? I think was it last year? I can't remember when it was, but obviously I went and had like a bit of like a anxiety kind of session and stuff like that, and it was a bit weird because I felt not weak speaking out about it, but it just didn't feel like me, if that made any sense. It did help, but it wasn't comfortable coming out and speaking about how I was feeling, how I was going on. I mean, now and again, I kind of feel a bit volatile every now and again, but, you know, I suppose that maybe it's because of the whole corona thing, that's why I'm feeling quite volatile. I can't really do certain things, but, you know, I think at the moment now I know what support structures that I need to go to find help, and I suppose with what you're doing now, with this platform going forward, you know, people like myself and other people have got a place that they can go to also as well. So
absolutely. Do you guys feel as though, as sort of young black men, not having the encouragement or the space to talk has impacted you negatively? Do you wish that sort of you were not raised differently, but do you wish that you were sort of encouraged more to talk? Do you think that would have made a difference to you guys' sort of mental, I suppose, well-being?
It's a double-edged sword.
Really? In what way?
Because a lot of the times I see it, I'm talking for me on a personal level, when I see it and I look at like people in my family and I think, I know why I'm like this because they've been like this, so it's just passed on, whereas I haven't been taught to, okay, if there's an issue, this is how you'd express it, this is what you need to do, where it's just learned behaviours as a child or personality, whatever. So but when you grow up and you learn more about it yourself, then you start to reflect and you start to think, actually, wait there, how I was taught or what I thought was meant to be necessary when I was younger, it probably wasn't how I should be now. But because now I have the ability to think, and I've had different examples and different people who are like close to me or not close to me, then now I can reflect and think, actually, yeah, for my children, if I have children or people who are close to me in the future, I don't want to be how I was when I was younger.
Really?
Not because it was like bad, just because I know how tough it can be for certain things. So I feel like even if that person doesn't want to speak, at least they know how to if they need to. So where there's a pathway where it's like, okay, no one wants to tell everybody the issues and their problems, but sometimes it's just nice to know that if you wanted to, you know how to. But when you feel like you don't know how to, then you're a bit like, I don't know what to do.
I think that stuckness, isn't it? And that helplessness. Someone said helplessness before. It's that helplessness, isn't it? And I completely get it. Do you think though that at the same time, I suppose as black people generally, if we talk about, you know, the struggle and everything else, and how much more work we've had to do to sort of, I suppose, be recognised, is that the right word? To be recognised, to have the equal opportunities. Exactly. Do you think that we've been taught to keep it going because of that sort of structure that's been sort of going on?
I think so,
society?
Especially when I see it with my parents or people in my family and stuff. Because not that I compare, but I always try and think of myself as like, if this and this happened to me, I don't know how I would deal with it. But it's happened to them, and they've just had to be like, there's no dwelling. I can't really dwell. If I dwell, then this will fall down. Exactly. So it's just continuous. Yeah. So I think because that's instilled in us, maybe all of us, we've kind of got that in our heads where it's like, now that the world's evolving or we're more privy to certain things, we don't have to be like that. But at the same time, we've grown up like that. So we know that we still need to be staying on a level, because at the end of the day, like it is different for black, white, whatever.
Everyone's
different.
For a lot of people, man.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
Every family has their own like way how they break down and communicate on it. So
my mum said something quite interesting last night. Actually, I went sleeping. I just
brush your
I
teeth.
just heard it. No, it weren't quite that. It weren't quite that. But nah, she just said, like when she like going through her prayers and stuff like that. That God made us like black people in a way that we're built to endure. Do you know what I mean?
No, don't say that, man. Because
a lot of
I don't believe that.
No, like, because we're still here. We're still.
Oh,
like,
you think so?
Yeah.
Yeah,
like,
we're obviously still
like,
here.
We're here.
What do you mean you don't?
I don't believe that we're built to.
I know what you're going along with.
Doctors think black people don't feel pain.
Yeah.
Not like that.
Not like that.
No. But like what you just said, but enduring, like for other people, actually feels like. We don't. They actually genuinely feel like black people don't feel pain
in the systems.
Yeah,
like childbirth is one of them for women. Like they won't believe a woman if there's less likeliness of them believing a black woman if she's in pain in labour, and compared to other races, because the studies done. That's why more black women will die. Yeah. So that I get what you're saying. But I don't think that's what Trey was alluding to. But I know what I don't.
No. Like. I forgot about the point that I was going to say now.
You said that your mum was she'd wake you up and said that black men are built to endure.
To endure, yeah. So like, we might not go to these places to say like, oh, we need this help. We'll kind of like just take it and we'll just get on with it, kind of thing. That's kind of what I just took from it. Let's say, but
I feel you. I get what you mean. I think sort of with what all of you've just said. It just like it makes me think about the idea of vulnerability, and I think as human beings collectively, I think the idea of being vulnerable and is seen as a weakness, isn't it? When you think of the word, okay, well, be vulnerable and share these experiences, be open, talk about what you're feeling. Immediately people think no, like no, that means that I'm opening myself up to the possibility of hurt, to the possibility of betrayal, and people are scared of it, aren't they? People fear the idea of vulnerability, but you cannot, I personally don't believe, and please feel free to disagree, but I personally don't believe that you can do amazing things in life without being vulnerable. I can't think of one incredible thing that someone's done, one brave or courageous thing that someone's done in their life that hasn't required them to be vulnerable. And again, vulnerability, I don't mean weakness, I mean sort of opening yourself up to that emotional, I suppose, it's emotional exposure, isn't it? So opening up to the possibility of feeling anxious about it, feeling depressed about it, feeling demotivated about it. Vulnerability is in opening yourself up to uncertainty, not knowing whether it's going to work or not. This podcast, you guys have been courageous and brave enough to put this platform up, and you couldn't have done that without being vulnerable to judgments, to uncertainty, to risk, and all of these things. And I just think it gets a bad rap generally, being vulnerable. People just see it as a massive weakness, and I just don't think that to be a successful, whatever that success might mean to you as a person, to be a successful human being, you can't separate vulnerability with success. It's just not possible. So I just think it's just be really important for everybody to allow it and to accept it as just part of humanness and growth, because I think it's massively essential.
But like as you said earlier on, certain people get exposed to like traumas.
Yes.
So from my understanding, if you're traumatized or damaged, you allowing yourself to be vulnerable is going to be a lot harder, because you've experienced so much hurt, betrayal, etc., whatever emotion it is. So then they close themselves off even more. So then every single time they want to take that risk or whatever, they're not putting. They shouldn't. How can I say? They probably are not allowing themselves to be how they would normally be because the trauma is there in the background.
Absolutely.
So I feel like even though that's a valid point, I think it's difficult because people are. You're scared.
Oh, 100%.
And scared is unknown, and unknown is fear.
Exactly. Like I said, we're driven by fear massively, aren't we? And
fear and love.
And desire,
those
yeah,
are the two.
exactly.
Yeah.
It's fear and desire, isn't it? Exactly. Didn't Drake do a song called? Oh no, that's Love and Desire.
Love and Desire.
Fire and Desire. But yeah, no, absolutely. It definitely feels more difficult when you've experienced a trauma in your life and experienced something difficult. Absolutely, it's gonna feel like an even bigger risk for you, doesn't it? Because again, that's even more emotional exposure. That's even more risk. It's even more exposure. But again, to be courageous enough to move through that, and I think this is why friends, family, therapists, pets are so important in our lives. To move through that, you do have to still be vulnerable. You do still have to be courageous enough to be like, okay, that was a shit experience. That was not nice at all. That was really, really hard for me. But I'm going to try again. And I'm going to keep going. And that in itself is vulnerability, isn't it? Because you're allowing yourself to go again. Exactly. And that's a place of fear, isn't it? That's a place of uncertainty. That's a place of risk in itself. But that's a place of vulnerability. And that's where courage is. And that's where amazing things can happen for people.
I was going to ask you a question.
No, of course.
Because you're getting in so many emotions from different people. So it's like I feel like when people talk to you, you're taking in their energy. Do you offload to another therapist? Do you have a therapy sessions yourself?
So we have supervisors. So it's you can't. I don't know if it's illegal, but I know you cannot practice as a therapist without having supervision. It's just you just can't do it.
What's supervision though?
So
is that you having a therapist or just watching what you're doing?
It's definitely not you having a therapist. No, it's not you having a therapist. I'd say that having a therapist and having supervision completely different.
That's what I'm saying. Me, if I was a therapist and I'm taking in like, say if these man tell me they're depressed and one saying he's having PTSD and someone's telling me like,
you need someone else to
like I can just about handle myself. How can I handle 50 different clients and then that whole energy? Because I believe in like, like I don't believe in manifestation, but I believe in like when if someone says like, oh, my luck is just shit and all this is happening, that energy can actually go on to you too.
Of course
can. So like, how do you offload that? How do you do it personally?
So I'd say I've actually had this conversation with my brother the other day. He was like, you should get a therapist. And I was like, do you know what, I actually should.
You should.
I think I should too. I totally agree.
Should be a thing. All therapists
should have a therapist, 100%. So I think I definitely will. And I think the reason why I've not yet is because my supervisor is amazing. Like, she's incredible. And it's not just supervision where you're just like, okay, how is she doing? Yeah, but okay, good, next, move on. She really gives me space to talk about how I feel. Do you know what I mean? Like, she's like, how are you doing? How are you really doing, kind of thing. I'll talk about a case and she'll be like, God, like that sounds really difficult. How did that make you feel? So it's very explorative. It's not like, okay, we're moving on to the next person. Okay, yeah, do this, do that. No, don't do that. It doesn't feel that way. I feel like I have the space and the room to really feel and to really express that emotion and that whatever burden that I might be holding on to, whatever distress I'm holding on to. So I feel like I get that already. But I definitely get your point, and I do definitely think that me, myself, and I think all therapists would definitely benefit from having another therapist for sure.
Find out the fees. Come back with me, I'll give you a price. And you tell me, I'll go with like some good rates.
I will, yeah.
I don't know the rates yet.
You mean you're gonna give me therapy or?
Yeah.
Okay. I'm interested. You'll be like, right, first of all, did you make jollof rice today?
Well, what I was thinking is, isn't she meant to give you rates because she's your therapist?
No. I'm a good listener. So I'm actually like therapy level.
Yeah.
No gas.
I'm not saying
He's the one who said he doesn't speak.
No,
but he said he's the good listener.
Yeah, the good listener. But you said you were the one who's going to speak. You said that like
I said I don't speak about my own feelings, but I can help someone with theirs. Like I can be like, yo,
this is what's going on. Okay, I'll get back to you on that.
I look at things very logically.
Do you?
No, like very logically. Like
you say quite a rational person. Are you agreeing? Because you actually
no, I agree.
Yeah.
Like I really look out at everything. Like I can't never not look at like something as me. I need to look at it as someone looking at someone else looking at it.
Okay.
So it's how I like come into like if I'm gonna break down something. Like me and my mum have arguments about a lot of things, and some people say I'm quite negative, but I'm not negative. I look at things like very rationally, things that you wouldn't even pick up on, so they don't know how to take it. But I think it's a great way to look at things because you've taken away the emotional aspect, and you come at it and you decipher everything, and that's how I solve all my problems and stuff. And like. That's why I feel like I'm very good at conflicting with myself, because if I have something in my life and I know I'm battling with, I can't look at it as Josh, can't be me. I need to look at it from somebody else looking at it, and then that's how I build the road that I'm trying to get to something.
And that is good. That's a good thing to do, and I think, again, double-edged sword with that really, isn't it? But I think that's a really good point that you're making, because within therapy, a lot of it is to do with helping people develop that objective view of thoughts. And I think you were talking about mindfulness, weren't we? And it's such a powerful construct, and I think that, or concept, but people often misunderstand it. And I think people believe that it's about sitting and just meditating for 5 hours every single day, and it's really not about that at all. It's literally about what you've just said. And there was like I think it was a French theorist or researcher or philosopher or something who spoke about like how, you know, in athletics, when people do the long jump, not the one with the stick, the one where is it long jump
into the sand?
Yes, into the stand. He talks about how you've got to take a step back before you can actually jump far in life. So like that, taking that objective view before you can actually feel powerful enough to then keep going forward. And I see mindfulness in that way. It's about taking that objective view. Again, if we go back to the triangle, it's about noticing that, okay, so that's happened, but what am I actually thinking here? What's going on here? Like, how am I conceptualizing this? And I think the problem that we all have as human beings, and we all do it, therapists do it, you know, everybody does it, we conceptualize a lot. Okay, this means that. Okay, that means I'm not good enough. Okay, well, if that's happened, then that means that this is going to happen again. And we call these things like cognitive biases. So in life, we have these cognitive biases, which are like, you know, shoulds and musts. So I should have gone for a run today, you know. I must get the best grades at uni. I must have the most amazing job in the entire world so that I can have a mansion and show it off on Instagram. You know, like, we've got these cognitive biases, and we've got overgeneralization. So I came to a podcast. It was really terrible because I didn't know what to say. I felt really nervous. I'm never going to go to a podcast again. Every opportunity that comes to me, it's going to be as awful as it was. Yeah, we have these different sorts of ways of thinking, and back to the point that you made before, it's about learning about what's going on here before it then impacts on everything else. Do you know what I mean? And I think that's what you mean by taking a step back and looking at things logically, which is what
you just said. What was it? Shoulds and wants.
Shoulds and musts.
Shoulds and musts.
Yes.
That's exactly how you
internal
just broke
pressures.
that down.
Yes.
It's actually how, like, when a marketing matrix looks at a buying purchase between needs and wants, and that's exactly how.
It's the same people. It comes from psychology.
Is it?
Freud.
Okay. Well, on this, I'm step closer. I'm there, baby.
Graduation. I'm taking my job off me.
I'm gonna be more than that therapist money, man.
Oh my
People
god,
be thinking I'm a physiotherapist as well.
DMT popping.
Honestly, it's true though, and I think you know, everything comes back to sort of modern life always, doesn't it? Again, Instagram, social media, should and must are massive, aren't they? Like, I'm seeing this, that person's got that, this person's doing this, okay, I should be doing that too, I must be doing that too, I need to get this many followers too, because that's how it should be. You know what I mean?
Has anyone come to you about social media? Because I want to know, is someone ever come to you and be like, Instagram's taken over my life? How many likes is really getting to me? I think it's a legit thing. It must
probably
be.
is.
Yeah,
Especially
it must be.
Yeah.
I'd say quite a lot. I don't think I've worked with someone who that's been their main problem, but it's definitely sort of fueled and impacted on the issue going on, continuing. Again, back to the sort of model of CBT behaviour, isn't it? So if you're thinking, I should be doing this, my life doesn't look like that, I need to be getting these likes, I'm not getting as many followers as them, you know, people aren't commenting on my pictures as much as I want them to. Behaviour, you might obsess over it, you might go onto these influencers pages constantly, you might go out with friends but not actually enjoy the meal with them, you're just obsessed about getting the right pictures to get the right likes and things like that. It all links up, so it definitely is part of people's
I had
psychology.
this conversation with somebody yesterday. I was with Minnie yesterday, and we was walking, and we was talking about like a whole restaurant and stuff. I was like, people now don't care about the taste of the food; it's how aesthetic it looks. So
show it to people.
Show off. So I was saying, like, if I ever open a restaurant, I'll make it so aesthetically pleasing. The food has to be trash. but they just come there just to take photos.
Your jollof rice then?
Yo, my jollof bangs.
Just vibes.
And I use basmati too, so you can trust me.
Fair enough.
Do you eat long grain?
Basmati always.
Okay, I was going to say that. I use long
madness
grain.
is
You
You're just going to kick it out.
Yeah.
later.
So we was talking about this, and we was talking about, like, so he gave me an idea. We was talking about, like, how people do a business, and I've got another friend, he was telling me about his business. And we was putting them together, and I was like, okay, if I'm going to do this business or whatever, I'm going to make it Instagrammable, where my traffic that people are going to go, it's not actually buy from word of mouth, it's the aesthetic of what you're posting. So from the food, from the venue, the people that go, the whole, I'll say the ambiance of everything, isn't it? That's what sells. It's not actually now that how rated it. Michelin stars don't care. Michelin stars don't compete to like Facebook, Instagram likes and follows now. It's like people don't look at chefs. Like I remember when I was younger, you know, set with chefs and you're like, oh shit. Now you're going because set man have went. I seen it on last week. Or when did the Eater bike thing start?
The beginning of the month.
So someone had a Twitter thread how he went to Hakkasan. And
what is this Hakkasan, by the way?
It's a restaurant. It's a very expensive restaurant.
I've seen it everywhere. Everyone's talking about it.
See, the thing with the word expensive and Hakkasan, some people say it's not expensive, it's whether you can afford it.
Okay.
So it's one of them. So if you know if you're going somewhere that it costs a lot for more than the usual standard, you're probably gonna wait till the end of the month for a birthday or something.
Oh, okay.
But the way some people talk about some people
but,
talk about it like it's an everyday thing.
Like it's
Really
Nando's.
Yeah.
Like it's actually like Nando's. Like people,
the prices don't match up.
The price point is that high. It's like
you might spend minimum 70 quid on your own.
What's that one? What's that?
On your own? I reckon so. Because some of the things you're gonna get drink.
What are you eating?
No. So we're gonna tell you. He's gonna tell you, and I'm gonna tell you how I know it's gonna be an expensive meal.
Go on.
So. Wait, you tell what you're going to say.
So it's like, obviously you're going to get drink, you might get a starter. You say like if you like steak or something along those lines, your steak might cost 30 to 40 pound. And then after you've had your drink, then you might have desserts. By the time you look at it, you're up to 60 pound. So it's one of them places where, but people talk about it almost as if it's, I went to Hakkasan, like you should go there. Like, why aren't you going Hakkasan as well? It's like it's not an everyday common place.
Like it's Greg's or something.
Yeah, like it's Greg's. Like
it actually is like Greg's.
People talk about it on Twitter like it's just like well I can go Hakkasan. Anyone can go. No,
you can't.
Like a status thing.
That's literally what it is.
And like see, that's why I can never go to these places now, because we went to, where did we go to? The one in Hong Kong.
Oh, in the 14th floor.
Yeah, it was. It was actually trash.
What's
it called?
I can't remember the name of it.
But it's bare expensive. Because you know when it's expensive when boiled rice costs £20.
Oh, sorry.
For boiled rice.
Yeah.
Well, you can get a bag from L7 Market. $3.99.
50 quid minimum spending.
That's crazy.
Yeah, but just for boiled rice. It was £20.
You must be pissed.
Rice is £20, man. But then when I went to New York, we was gonna go STK, and like my friend was like STK. And I was like, alright, cool. But this, after a couple of days, I started realizing that everywhere in America does service charge. Like nah, I'm not looking to pay, because it actually works out that you're paying for another meal.
Wow.
So somebody else that I know went, or the kid that I know, he was out there before, he left before we went, and he was telling me how they got like 2 starters. So it was him and his girl. You got a starter, a main, and just a bottle of wine, and it worked out as like £300.
Sorry.
And then plus £120 service charge.
On top of that.
Yeah.
Because they put a percentage, I think, of whatever your bill is.
That's crazy. I'll start rolling my sleeves up to these dishes.
A percentage? That's like
so like
40%.
So
that's
like
mad.
yeah.
So New York was that's why I would never go back to New York. Because when I got hit with service charge, it was a bit mad, because I was like, you are, so it's not a myth that it's not, you know when they say you don't have to pay service charge. No, you have to pay service charge. You cannot leave if you don't pay that service charge.
It's not optional.
And it's not optional. And you know what? You're not even being cheap. It's like, who was this 3rd and 4th person that was eating? Like, who was there? Like, okay, I'm all about tipping people, because we've all worked in that industry, and like, back here, throwing someone £10 a tip is a mad thing. I'm like, like that's calm. But you're telling me one done is whacking 150 for service charge. That in my head, It doesn't make sense. It don't make sense. So you see, like, as well, the psychological game of, especially with black people. This is a thing. This is actually a thing. And Corona actually hit my head for this. We don't have savings, and it's not our fault. But at the same time, you can see that we're pressured now to always do drip and drown, do this and buy this, because we come from a place that as I said, a lot of our parents are first generation. So they've come in like, we don't really have much, but now all our kids are now, I need to buy. So that's a psychological game. And then you see that a lot of people now who are not black or ethnic or Asian, especially Asian people have it as well, who are white, where their parents have been their whole lives and they have like savings. And I spoke to a lot of people about it and they were like, oh, I've got savings, so I wasn't that bad. But I spoke to black people about it and they were like, oh shit, I got nothing. And they're stressing, but then they're still stressing to keep up the facade that they got money. So then you're now in constant battle of like, I've got no money and now I want to look as good and I want to keep that. I'm that guy. Yeah. And there's that pressure where it's not our fault. And I don't even feel like being financially literate would help. You can't be financially literate. That can help a problem where it's ingrained, because you need to think about it. You won't come here to get better and buy things back home and expand. That's to have wealth, because we don't have nothing. That's a psychological thing, a trait that your parents have passed on without not knowing. You've come here now, you're buying stuff, you see that all your friends, it starts in school, where especially in Liverpool, where you see kids wearing designer in school and you're like, rah, I now need to be that guy, or I need to get into something where my mum can't buy me that, I need to buy that. See a lot of black kids doing it, rappers are doing it, you're in a circle, but the money that's coming in is not matching the X that's coming out. Sure. So we're in a battle and you can't change that, because I think there's set things you're born with and you can't, it's mad to say, but we're born with this trait, and it's I don't know in like 2 to 3 generations ever go, but it's something that we need to really talk about.
Is it that idea about sort of, can you buy it versus can you afford it? Is that what you mean?
Sort of, but it's more of the need of, it's not even buying to afford it. It's
making sure that you look like how you should look.
Yeah.
But when I say you should look, it's like a social pressure. A social pressure. So in your head, you've probably got this image of how you should be in and amongst everyone else to keep up, or keeping up with the Joneses.
Yeah.
That's the one my dad always used to say. He always told me that. Like, don't be keeping up with the Joneses. Don't need to be wearing them trainers if you can't afford them. He always used to tell me.
The drippy's coming out.
Relax. I can afford these. Nah, but obviously, so it's one of them where you're probably thinking, I have to have this image, but you probably can't even afford that lifestyle of that image that you're trying to have.
No,
so
for real.
Like you said before, was it the must-haves and
the shoulds and musts?
The shoulds and musts. So your musts are just food in your fridge, making sure the gas and electric are put in your head, like you've reversed it, and you're now doing drip as the
that's it. Especially speaking to a lot of people now, like. You speak to a lot of people who with money issues and the worrying, or as well, it's so weird because there's a pressure, and I feel like people as well have. It's kind of embarrassment, to be fair, to say to someone you got money troubles, because you tell someone you got money troubles, they look at you and be like, wow, like, do you get what I'm saying? Like, money troubles doesn't equivalent to being poor. No. But when you hear that, you think, oh shit, that person's broke, he's poor. It's people determine and take away from a saying, and now they've brought a narrative, and it's a shame.
That's what Nihad was saying before, but the triangle.
She's on this
triangle.
Illuminati.
No, she was like, literally went to dinner. I was like, oh, I've got a hot minute. It's hot cross bun, guys. It's this way. So it's not really triangle, because the triangle misses out the physiology, which is like the body stuff. So I was talking about the thoughts, feelings and behaviours, wasn't I? But example again with the sort of physiology, it's things like sleep, loss of appetite, lethargy, pain,
heart
racing, when
Try
you're anxious.
CBD.
Exactly.
That's what you need to take. Yo, CBD like is a real thing. Like me and Jacob endorsing it.
Endorsing.
No, I'm Tessa too.
I heard that there's someone sent me an article the other day about is it magic mushrooms becoming a new like therapeutic thing? Have you read that? What was that? Sorry. Yes.
Yeah. Where can you get this from?
It's not legal.
Oh,
Yeah, I was gonna say. You won't be able to just get it.
To be fair, I would love to microdose.
Would
like,
you?
Yeah.
But you need to be careful though, because you need to know what you're getting.
Yeah, but like I've read a lot of stuff on microdosing, and like the performance levels in microdosing is a good thing.
Mad.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah, man. You should do it. Your creative circle would be like. No, man, trust me.
I'm listening.
No, I'll send you some stuff over.
What?
Josh's surgeries would be mad. Rice and mushrooms for his patients.
Wow.
Crazy.
Yeah.
No, but
goodie
speaking
bag.
about money though, money no object. Where would you take a girl on a date? No object.
No object.
Money
I'll
no
let this man
object.
go
It
first.
depends how. Okay.
Wait, are you trying to take me out here? So you
Nah. But how much do I
I
like?
was thinking about Hakkasan and I was like, I wonder how
How
far like
much do I
guys
like
actually
this
go.
person?
A lot. No,
Wow.
actually, let's say it's like in the early phases where you're still getting to know each other, but you're liking it, like you're thinking this is a potential.
And the money's out of the question.
No objects, as in like no objects at
Babes,
all.
let's go south of France.
Really?
Let's go. Let's go.
South of France.
If I'm like, and money's not an option, let's do it.
How
Why
long
not?
for?
Let's do it. Huh?
How long for?
Just 2 nights.
2
You
nights.
can't do too long. Because
Just
then
in case.
standards.
I don't know, you know.
I
I
would.
thought you meant in case you don't like them in the end.
Oh no.
Like we
Because
said.
then you can have it. In my head, it's like best of both worlds.
Yeah.
Somewhere where I've never been, but I've always wanted to go. But maybe if I go with someone where I'm properly established with, it might not be the same.
Sure.
Because it's a little bit spontaneous and stuff,
Sure.
and the money's not an option.
Money's not
I
an
can be
option.
like, boom, and I've been South of France and I've enjoyed it. And if it doesn't work out, I'll still be in South of France.
Okay. Sick. I like that. You're thinking Lagos, aren't you?
That's Jay speaking. Jay, she said Lagos, man. Mad.
Shit. I don't even know, you know, but I don't know. Somewhere it's just got a bit of a view in it, really.
Yeah.
I like
You know,
the view.
I like the ambiance. I like, you know, the
Chill
settings. And then you know, if I can cook as well, then in the morning I'll make a little something.
Ah.
Because you
I
know
ain't
it's
cooking
He's putting you to shame already. I can tell. He's like, oh no.
No, I've never had a bad date ever.
Really?
No lies.
In your life?
speak for yourself.
Okay. Me personally, I had this conversation with Minnie yesterday. I think from their perspective, it's always been sick. From mine, sometimes it's
Oh, okay.
But like, I've never been like for the person to be like, "Wow, that was dead."
How do you know from their perspective it was sick?
I don't want to say.
Yeah, I know what you're thinking though.
I don't want to say. He knows.
I know.
He knows.
So let's talk. What is it?
Nah,
No,
I
no,
can't.
he knows,
no,
but
Is it-
like,
We'll tell you after the pod.
no,
Okay.
you can't even tell.
What?
You know what?
Is it?
I don't know what you was
You
doing.
nearly got hypnotized and he told the truth. Man, been spelling all his truths.
I'm not even gonna say too much into it, but like, I don't even talk about my dates. But I feel like I don't really class, because I've done expensive with someone I didn't really like, and I've done cheap. I've done cheap
Yeah.
with someone I really
What's
like.
cheap?
Just standard.
Just the standard, like, let's go and grab some tea in it. I like tea a lot. Leaf is my gaff.
Yeah.
So
Leaf is
Me
vibe.
and Josh are the same person.
Is that where you been going, Lee?
Leaf's the
It's
we like
cool.
tea, innit?
Yeah,
Tea, it's
Leaf,
chill.
Leaf is sick. Are
Anyway,
they still doing them over mic nights? I've not been in ages.
I've
don't
been
know,
obviously
no.
ages
Open, is
too.
it?
anywhere for me, it's anywhere where I can go and like they can be comfortable
Yeah.
and I can be comfortable.
Yeah.
If there's things added in to make it a bit more special, then fine. But as long as we can just talk and,
Yeah.
and
Vibe
then
out.
yeah, because then once I unlock this, then
Oh, okay.
then
Okay.
That's gonna come across so
What about
badly.
you?
And there's no videos.
I want to know yours. What's
What about
yours? If you have money, no object.
If I was to take a guy out,
Yeah, go on. 2020 innit? I'm seeing girls propose to
doing
man
leap
as
years.
well.
Money no object. I'm gonna reverse this. If I was a boy and I was taking a girl out, money no object.
I'm taking notes here.
Probably like Dubai. I'm taking it.
Dubai.
Yeah, I'd go to Dubai.
I thought I was pushing it.
Really?
Yeah.
Money no object. First class, like no. In fact, forget first class. Private jet. Money
She
no
is
object.
going out here.
Money no object.
To be honest,
no
if
object.
Yeah, if you
I'm
got
talking
money, no
like,
object, yeah.
like I'm talking like grands and
Celebrities do
nothing.
fly
Grands are like a
out for
pound.
no reason.
It's true.
So if
Money
money
no
was no object, yeah, that she's right.
Easy. Jet, Dubai, little weekend in Dubai.
Okay.
Just because I've always wanted to go to Dubai, I think it'd be sick. Like you, somewhere that you want to go, but then enjoy it with someone.
No, I'm a
Kinda.
cheapskate,
He's
me.
shaking his head. Why are you shaking your head?
I'm a cheapskate,
See,
me.
look,
I'm like,
really?
shit, I must be
Money no object.
if
As in, like
money's
you
no
can go there
object,
anytime.
yeah.
But the only
Really?
To be fair, Dubai's got a view anyway, so
Exactly.
Okay.
The only thing
Exactly.
is just setting the boundary and the standard.
Sure.
So I want to go too extravagant because then you.
Because you'll be expecting that all the
Yeah,
time.
because that then becomes lifestyle.
It's a first date and you like them.
No,
if you're trying to impress them.
but you
it's
said
not even
you-
trying to impress though.
Yeah.
How do you get bigger and
It
better?
just means like, do you know what it is? Yeah, you don't need to always do it big to get someone to like.
Definitely not. Of course
It's
not.
just about like your energy and.
100%.
You just need to come like correct and.
Oh,
you need-
100%.
Like you need to come correct with that pot and spoon.
Here we go. Rice again.
That's what you need to
Rice again. No,
guy's
100%.
do. I'm starving.
100%. No. When it comes down to it, ultimately it's obviously not about the truth. Obviously, jokes aside, it's not. It's totally the personality, isn't it? It's the person, it's the character, it's how much you get on with them, it's how much you can like connect here more than anything. So yeah, money no objects. Just sit at home innit? Sit at home and talk.
You need to talk about your therapy app. Or
Okay.
not your app, but your page.
The page.
The page.
What do you want to know about
I
it?
want to know about the page.
So, as in like what brought about the idea about the page and things like that.
Was it
So,
actually because of COVID? Being like locked up and stuff and be like, you need a platform now to help people?
not even that. It's more so because obviously we're doing. I've been like qualified for like a year now. So I still class myself as newly qualified, but training for 3 years, and obviously I've been working properly for a year. And I think sort of doing the work that I'm doing, and I suppose sharing the things that I share with people every day. Again, part of therapy is something we call psychoeducation, which is just about helping the person to understand what's going on and why it's happening, kind of thing. So with anxiety, psychoeducation about why we experience anxiety, what even is it, why do we feel it, why is it that our heart races, just getting them that basic sort of I suppose knowledge about what's happening, because once you know it makes more sense to you, doesn't it? So I found that there was lots of things that I was repeating to people a lot, regardless of their presentation. There was lots of different things that I was sort of sharing with similar people, all of the time. And I just thought this is something that everyone should be able to know without having to wait months and months and months for therapy, or without having to pay ridiculous prices to have private therapy. It's stuff that everyone should know, and whether it's sleep hygiene or anxiety management or panic or OCD or whatever it may be, everyone should know this stuff. And if I can create a platform where I can share these ideas in 1-minute videos with people, then why not do it? So that's where the idea came about. And I think, like, again, we were talking about vulnerability a couple of moments ago, wasn't it? And I think I had a conversation with this guy. He does private therapy in Liverpool, and he was talking about, he's like, well, no one would ever think that you're a therapist based on your page. If you looked at your Instagram page, I'd never guess that you worked as a therapist. You just don't give that vibe. Why is it that you don't share what you do?
What's
your
a therapist?
Oh, that's what I was gonna
like,
ask.
well,
what
yeah,
does he mean
I
by-
suppose, like, because I didn't share anything about, I don't know, like inspirational quotes, or
Yeah.
apparently I just don't look like a typical therapist. I don't know what that meant, but this is what the conversation was about.
Too much drip on your page.
But your Instagram that's your identity.
Exactly.
Like I
Yeah.
always feel like you shouldn't mix work and
Exactly.
yours. Always have like
You should have two.
Yeah.
Or
Separately.
Just be
That's it.
yourself.
Yeah, so this
Yeah.
is what I was saying. I was like, well, I don't really want to, because that's my private thing. And he was like, well, you're obviously really passionate about it. It's something that you love doing. Why is it that why don't you start something for yourself with that? And it stuck in my head for ages. And I was like, no, I can't, because like that's my job, and what if people judge me? What if, you know what I mean? It's that vulnerability stuff again, isn't it? Like, God, that's a big uncertainty. There's risk there. There's this potential judgment, what if people don't take to it well? Again, all of that stuff was going through my mind. And then I just sort of parked that aside for a little bit. And I suppose, like, I don't know about you guys, but during lockdown and everything, it gave me lots of time to really reflect on a lot and think about where I'm at. I turned 25 during lockdown, so it was really like, okay, so I'm here
and
now.
there was no jollof. Oh God. You're actually joking.
One more time, I'm going to pour that gel off.
You turned 25 on lockdown, we didn't get to eat, so...
Next time. 26, innit? Big age.
I've been waiting this long for this food.
You have. It's coming, I promise you. Mark my words. He's fed up.
COVID 20.
Every pod, man talks about food. Every pod. Man just wants rice.
Honestly, just give it to him, shut him up.
I like rice, man. I like rice still.
So it gave me a little time to reflect, and I watched this really, really like powerful video. And if anyone's listening and you're scared of death, or death terrifies you, like just fast forward like 5 minutes, because I'm going to talk about death for a minute. Are you guys scared about dying?
Hey, I'm scared.
No.
That's my biggest fear.
Is it actually?
No, like
I am, but I'm really interested about it.
Are you interested? It's not scary. It's just
maybe we need to talk, because I have problems sleeping because I'm scared of that.
really interesting.
Like I feel like if I die, that's it.
Well, okay.
Okay, obviously, but like it got to the point, like especially when I was younger.
Okay.
Like I only found out the other day that a lot of people have it in a voice, and Tessa told me. I thought I was the only one that had it.
Really? No way. Interesting. Yeah.
And then when it got to nighttime,
it's a thought, isn't it?
what?
The thought.
I thought you
In a
might
voice.
see. I thought you might see something I couldn't see. And like when it got to nighttime, my inner head would just go mad.
Really?
Yeah, because like I don't know. It's like my mom always said you're a child of God, but like that was never the answer. It was like, yo, fam, there's nothing that's been proven that if I don't die, like I need someone to come back and tell me that they saw heaven. Because like I'm being serious, because I don't think it's a fear that I can never conquer.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay. It's a very common fear.
Yeah.
Oh my God, massively common. I'd say, God, a lot of people that I see, and I mean, I would say a good maybe 40% of them are terrified of death. I've got lots of friends who are scared of it. Oh my God,
There was a point I was fighting sleep not to die.
Yeah. It's huge. It's
massive.
Really, oh my God, it's really common. Again, it's uncertainty, isn't it? Like, what's going to happen?
What's going to happen?
It's
I
terrifying.
really need someone to. They need to like start like inducing coma so people can see what's there
happening.
And then come back.
Would you feel better if you knew?
If there was something there.
If you knew, if someone was to come back and with certainty say to you, this
I need
is exactly what
a good
happened.
percentage, not them one stories.
I've got stories
where
that I can tell, but I won't tell you in the pod.
Like, not them ones where set man said he saw their grandma. I need fucking 1,000 people trialed, or even 2,000 that will come and tell me. Not one in a population of like that. Not that I need 2,000 people there,
really,
and a high percentage that they've come back and said, you know what, I seen it.
Really.
So then if I hit that, I know I've lived. I'm not bigging myself up, but I know I've lived a semi-decent life.
Yeah.
And a good. I mean, like I've been kind to people.
Yeah.
So hopefully one day I'll be rewarded because I'm genuinely nice.
Mm-hmm.
I'll be happy to go tomorrow.
How would you live your life differently if you knew what would happen if you were to die?
Oh, now?
Yeah.
Like tomorrow?
So, like, let's say today you had these thousands of people come to you and say, this is exactly what happens. How would you live your life differently?
Now, I wouldn't live it differently.
You wouldn't change anything?
Nah, I'll be like, if I'm going to die, it makes me now at ease. So I'll still be the same person. I'll still live as good as I can. But I'll know that I'm going to heaven. I'm going there. So then I think, I don't know if I'd be more excited. It's a bit weird because they made our heaven to be like this place.
Yeah.
So like I've always wanted to know like what is this place, because it's not exciting, but it seems like it seems like you're gonna be in peace. So,
absolutely.
But then I believe like there is ghosts and stuff like that. I believe that there's people who are not in rest. That like there's that your spirit's bound. I believe all that where you can't leave, where either before you died you was restless, or there is people like that, and I would never like to be like that. But at the same time, I just don't want to die and I'm done.
Have nothing left.
Yeah.
Do you not want me to tell this thing then?
What is it?
It's.
Go for it.
Do you want me to? Are you
Yeah.
sure? Disclaimer though, if anyone's listening, you're terrified of
nightmares.
death, fast forward like 5 minutes. Okay. So as well as that reflection, I watched this really, really like powerful video, which for me, it really struck me massively. In the video, he was talking about, have you seen like pictures where like they zoom out of the earth and obviously there's like the galaxy and like we're like a speck of dust, and it's that comparison of our problems and I suppose the universe.
Yeah.
I was watching a video about that, and this guy was talking about how in life we all exist, so we all live. We live and we have relationships with people, so friendships, companions, romantic relationships, whatever it may be. We have kids, families, and then we'll be remembered by them. And then when we die, you know, we'll live on in their memory, and then, you know, their grandkids or their children will then sort of share their memory of us, but then eventually we'll then die out completely. Like, we will no longer be a concept in anybody else. Josh's
I'm listening.
Tell me if it gets too much for you, but it's actually cool. It's fine. So eventually the concept of us, the idea of us will eventually die, because for these great grandkids, they don't know us, but they just have an idea about what we were like based on the messages that were passed down by these other people. Mm-hmm. So then he was talking about how that might happen, or you might do extraordinary things like do a podcast and meet loads of people, or you may build a new phone or create this magical laptop or robot or delivery, and then your memory will live on for a little bit longer as that person who did this extraordinary thing. Mm-hmm. And eventually that will die out, because that new thing will be overtaken by something else, and then that will just be gone. Then you'll no longer exist as a concept for anybody. Or you might do extraordinary things, people like Freud, psychologist, people like what's the Apple guy called? Steve Jobs. Then again, you will live on and on and on and on and on, and eventually there'll be nothing left of you. You'll be a concept, and then that concept of you will die. And then the whole point of that video was not to scare you into thinking, oh my God, what is the point in life? It was more to sort of motivate you to think, whatever it is that you're worrying about right now, whatever it is that's stopping you and keeping you stuck in this position to move forward, try your best not to worry about that, because if it doesn't matter, eventually doesn't matter. Not because not that you shouldn't do something because it doesn't matter. You should do it anyway, because why not? Yeah. Why not? Whatever you're passionate about, whatever it is that motivates you, whatever moves you, whatever it is that you're scared of doing, do it anyway, because you can and you should. And even though the idea and the concept of you may not matter in hundreds and thousands of years to come, it's going to matter to someone, and it's going to matter to you. It may matter to your family, it may matter to the whole population, it may matter to the whole of Lagos. It'll matter to somebody, so, and importantly, it'll matter to you, so go for it and do it. So I watched that, and then I was just like, oh my God, why not? Why not do this thing? Why not put this page up? Because I can, I've got the opportunity to do it. If it reaches one person, 20 people, 15 people, 1,000 people, that's incredible, because I've still done that, and I've chosen to do that thing for them and for me as well. And that's where the page was born. That's why I just decided to do it.
Well, that was a nice long... Do you know what? It flew by. It flew by. But that was a good conversation. I feel like I've got more questions. We've probably all got more questions.
We can ask her. I'll ask her a couple.
Yeah, but
I swear, if you ask me a Jollof question,
no. But we'll have to either get you back on
for sure,
or we just do it
for sure.
Skype.
Yeah,
just be like
that's a Skype.
Tell everyone where we can find your page.
So my therapy page is your Guide.Therapy. So if you follow that, I will be happy to share with you lots and lots of different tips and techniques on how to manage various mental health difficulties. So give that a follow.
Okay.
Perfect. That's us, Front Left Podcast. Okay. Obviously, you can find us on YouTube. You can find us on Spotify, Overcast, Apple Podcasts, the whole shebang. It's going to be on Amazon soon, because they sent They sent me an email saying we can put it on Amazon.
Audible,
so we're going
to
Audible.
Is it on Audible too?
Amazing.
It's not yet, but it will be. But yeah,
Audible's Xpenny though.
Xpenny.
It's Xpenny. £10 just for $1 a month.
Mine's $7.99.
What for?
I got charged $7.99 as well.
I got, but it's only one token.
Yeah, but if you refund it, you still get the book downloaded, and you can choose the token.
No, I didn't know that. Yeah, so you just keep on refunding it?
Yeah, but you download the book in advance, so you can just do it.
What do you mean? You have to show me. You have to show me.
Anyway, guys, Front Left Podcast. That's us over and out.